Welcome to the show that explores the methods and strategies on rocking the financial side of your music business. With over 40 years combined experience, here are your hosts, Chris Webb and Dave Tampkin.
Welcome to Musician's Tip Jar, where we talk about musicians and money. Where we believe the road to failure and the road to success are mostly the same road. I'm Chris Webb, joined by my co-host, who definitely knows what a long road trip is like, Dave Tampkin.
Too many long road trips, Chris. Too many. Getting old.
How many of those were the same road?
Well, not too many, actually. So I'm proud of that. I still have some more roads to challenge myself with. I'll keep you posted.
I always think of talking to Andy Frasco about how he talked about like hitting the same places for a long time until you built something and then moved to a new region, you know? So I feel like a lot of people are on the same road a lot for that reason when they're starting to tour.
That's why they say when, you have a high probability of getting in an accident or pulled over closer to your house than anywhere else. Yeah, no shit. You're there more often than anywhere else.
That's true.
I don't know what that has to do with this podcast, but it's a little tidbit for you. Bring it on to the world. Tell your friends about it.
Today we complete our interview with our good friend Awosika. We put a spotlight on what often is misunderstood in the term making it in the music industry. I should put quotations around that when I say that. As well as diversifying revenue streams by simply pursuing your interests and some vocal tips from an absolute pro. Today's quote comes from our guest, Ayo. She said, "With success, there is no arrival point. You continue to arrive and take the next step and the next."
This week's nonprofit is musechoir.org. They believe musical excellence is essential to effectively deliver their mission and message with integrity, joy, and passion. Professional artistic staff leads their auditioned volunteer choir that brings a diverse mix of musical talent and training. Muse embraces their responsibility as global musical ambassadors and value artistic partnerships with other leading social justice and women's organizations. Actually, Muse Cincinnati Women's Choir just received $15,000 grant to partner with Ayo. And she's, I think, showcasing at the end of April. Is that what she said? They'll commission an original choir composition from her, and they'll perform with the live choir in the spring of 2025. So we're looking forward to sharing that with you when it happens. If you find this information useful, please rate and subscribe to the podcast, and also slam the like button if you're on YouTube so we can help you up on the finance side of your music business.
Ayo Awosika is an LA-based vocalist, composer, and multi-instrumentalist. She is also a vocal performance coach, music director, and arranger. She has toured and sung background vocals for artists including Miley Cyrus, Sam Smith, Rob Thomas, The Chainsmokers, Danny Elfman, Dua Lipa, Lizzo, Carlos Santana, Pentatonix, among many others. Ayo has shared the stage or opened with the likes of Richie Havens, Ryan Shaw, Peter Eldridge, Esperanza Spalding, and has also performed with the Colorado Symphony. She has performed on The Today Show, Saturday Night Live, The Tonight Show, Good Morning America, Jimmy Kimmel Live, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, Ellen, BBC Radio 1 Live Lounge, and The Voice, as well as the UK's top music TV show, Later with Jules Holland. In 2019, she had the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a vocalist on the choir heard throughout the Lion King film soundtrack. Since then, her vocals have been recorded on scores of several TV shows and films like Minions 2, Nope, Creed 3, Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever, Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, and Despicable Me 4. Ayo is also a Berklee College of Music graduate. Her debut album, We Best Not Wait, was produced by Scott Jacoby, who also produced John Legend and Sia, and that was released in 2016. In 2023, she was commissioned to compose and conduct a new choral piece for 250-person choir and debuted at the 2023 Sister Singers Network Festival in Cleveland, Ohio. Since then, she has been commissioned to compose several choral pieces for various groups in the U.S., as well as being invited as a guest artist to workshop, perform, and guest conduct with these same choral groups. The next one is with the Cincinnati Muse Choir that Dave just talked about, and that is at the end of April. Most recently, she was a featured singer in Disney's 80s-90s celebration at the Hollywood Bowl, as well as a member of the choir for the 30th anniversary Lion King show, also at the Hollywood Bowl. It is amazing. She's wonderful. Please enjoy. Let's go. Can I ask a little bit about how, when you're saying yes, when you're choosing to say yes or no to opportunities that are coming along, and I know this has changed as you have grown in your success, but do you negotiate back with the rates that they're offering, or do you usually just assume that what they're offering is going to be it, or it's a no? Especially with these like backup opportunities when you're backing up all these wonderful artists.
Yeah, that's a great question. With the union stuff, it's very like, this is what it is because, it's union. But I have run into, last year I did actually, was working with a new artist who's like huge now. And I was contracting a group of singers to perform with her, and just the pay that they were offering, it was like, this is just way too low. I can't go back to these. So in that particular instance, I'm a contractor, right? So I can't go to them knowing the caliber of these singers and say like, this is what they're offering you for the week. So I definitely had to do some negotiating, and it was tough. But I learned a lot and was able to get more for them. And that felt really good. It felt like an awesome win. Everyone had an amazing time. And I think every single time that we do that as singers, it tells, producers and artists and management teams like, hey, this is what we're worth. This is kind of the standard, and we're not really going to go below that. I've also, I've negotiated with some pretty big artists also, in terms of doing like touring and stuff like that. And it's worked. I mean, it makes sense, right? It's like any other job. If you're with them for a handful of years, like, hey, I want to talk to you about a raise, or if you're coming in the door new, it's like, this is what I'm used to. And these are the things that I need. And if you can't provide that, which recently I had a situation where, with an artist where I did have to turn down a tour, and it was painful for me because I love this artist. I love working with them, and it just it didn't align for me. And so I did have to say no, and there's no hard feelings about that. It's just like, oh, okay, that doesn't work for me now. But it's truly, guys, it has taken me a long time to get there though.
Yeah.
To get to this place where I can feel good. Like to me, it's like it's honestly like almost, it's a spiritual thing for me, because I'm like, if it's meant to be, it's going to be. And if it doesn't, okay, that wasn't for me then. And that really helps me with decision making of like, this does not seem to be working out. I'm not going to try to force a square peg into a round hole. Like, it's all good, But yeah, I have to say for sure, it's taken a minute to get there.
You had mentioned working in those hotels when you first moved out to LA, and something that Chris and I still do, that it is hard sometimes when someone offers rates that were the same in 1995.
Unreal.
How possible? How do you expect people to put food on their table and pay their rent when everything has changed? But there are a handful of musicians that don't have that self-worth, or they're making so much money elsewhere that this is just fun for them. So not knocking them for taking it. The standard just gets lower and lower. Oh, I'll take anything. I'll play anything.
Yes.
And the community goes down, rather than what I see Chris Webb do very often is build his community and bring them up. And like you said, you're contracting for other vocalists as well. Chris has a bunch of musicians that he works with that represent them and say, hey, I need to pay them fairly.
That's really cool. So how do you deal with those situations? Like, how do you deal with it?
It's funny that you said that you asked for a raise, and their story was when you were helping contract other artists. I've noticed that I am willing, more brave, I guess, to ask for the appropriate amount when I'm helping other musicians more than helping myself. And I'm not quite sure what switches, like where the confidence comes from all of a sudden when I'm like standing up for my community, but something is easier about it for me. And so
Mhm.
now when I'm representing myself, I try to represent myself as a third party
Nice.
to put that mindset, there so that I'm willing and more confident in asking for the appropriate amount. We're also getting to a point where, when you're saying no, sometimes you're not saying no because it's the financial decision. Sometimes you're not saying no because of that. You're saying no because it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like a good fit, right? Like sometimes you're like, well, I'm not the right person for this, like
I,
it's not always about the money. And
yep,
sometimes I think the money is the harder part when it's a good offer and
totally.
it's still not the right fit.
Totally. Ooh, yeah. You hit the nail on the head. That's the grown-up stuff right there,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
It's like that is truly the grown-up stuff to be like, oh, and this has happened to me other times in my career in different ways of like, oh, this shiny, like I'm gonna give you this money, but it's different. But like I had a situation where I had someone who wanted to invest in my project. But truly, that like terrible quintessential experience where it's like you can have all this money and ease, and I'm going to take care of you and your career, but you have to do this very shady thing
Mm.
that I'm just wasn't willing to do. So I'm walking away from the money and the ease. And, yeah, in this situation, it's like, oh, wow, it'd be nice to have that gig. And it sounds like really great pay, but am I going to be good? Like, at
Mhm.
the end of the day, am I going to feel like I made a good decision and in my integrity? That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I feel like you've always been good at listening to your heart, I've always
Likewise.
thought that about you. And so when you're setting up this next year, let's say, what is it that you're aiming at right now? Like, is there some new projects coming up, or are you going back on tour? Like, and how are you doing that now that you have a family and
Mm.
trying to maintain both in a
Yeah.
healthy way?
Yeah. Thank you. Um, I love touring, and I'm in a space now where I still am open to doing it, but it has to be a situation where I can bring my family.
Mm.
So if an artist is open to that and can provide support around that, awesome. Especially because my daughter, she's 2.5. It's a great time to do that. Like I said, my husband's in music. Like it would just be really fun for us to do. So if that opportunity arises, we'll see. But right now, we are the spring is like filling up with some really cool stuff. I mentioned earlier that I've been composing more. I had some opportunities to compose some pieces for choirs. And so I've been getting choral commissions, which just my like nerdy young choir singer self is just so
So
happy with.
cool. It's so cool.
But can you talk more about that? These are huge choirs. These are 250 person.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one I had was a commission to write a piece for actually two 250 person choirs, so 500 people total, and to write this piece for this festival called Sister Singers. And that was amazing. I wrote the piece. It premiered at this festival. This was 2023. Yeah. Got to conduct the piece. And so that kind of just opened my mind more to like, oh, this is a whole world that I really want to be a part of. So since then, I've had a few more commissions. I got to be one of 12 composers selected to do this special program in California where we work with composer mentors and get to have this group called Choral Arts Initiative premiere a piece after a week-long time of working with them. And that was last year. That was really cool. And I just finished a commission for a group in Cincinnati called Muse that will premiere at the end of April. So I'll go there. This is kind of like something I've thought about for a long time of like doing gigs that are more in the performing arts realm. But I'm realizing like, oh, there's a really cool way for me to bring all of my skills and loves together of like getting to go with these groups, workshop with them, kind of teach them a little bit, to also perform my own music in a concert. And that's what I'll be doing with this group, also collaborating with them. And then they'll premiere this piece that I composed for them. So that's been really exciting. So hopefully more of that this year. And then my husband is helping me. I'm building a business around just educational content. Like I, again, have been thinking like, I love teaching. It's all been mainly private. When I lived in Colorado, I was also teaching at Swallow Hill and doing like a lot of group classes and stuff like that. And I still do that now, but just less of it. But there's only one of me, so I can't teach private lessons to hundreds of people. And I've been thinking like, I just want to help people. That's like literally what I think I'm here to do, is just to help people, and more specifically help people find themselves, come back to themselves and their voice and their authenticity, and them being able to show up as their true selves, whatever that looks like. And so I just want to impart on all my knowledge, and help people if they want to do what I'm doing, to do that. If they are singers who, they have a day job and it's just fun, it's a hobby for them, that's great too. All my students, they run the gamut in terms of age and background, but I want to present classes and workshops and courses now, with just all of this information on how you can become a better singer, how you can become a professional singer, how you can sustain. So that's what I'm working on now. Takes a lot of time and effort, but I'm super excited about that. I'm actually going to be presenting a workshop on breath support, which is like just so foundational as a singer. And there's so many misconceptions and so much confusion around that for singers. So I'll be presenting that in the next couple of weeks, actually. And that's kind of like my first main online workshop that I'll be doing. So I'm just excited to just.
Congratulations. You mentioned that your husband works with some people behind the scene. You have mentioned you work with some people and teach behind the scenes. You're not mentioning their names. Totally cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's people behind the scenes that have mentored you, or peers or teachers that showed you a way to do things in that scene. Can you give us an example of someone who wasn't like the megastar, but the village behind that, boosts this machine and keeps it working, that says, hey, this has added, a positive thing to the journey and of success for you in ways that the public will never see?
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool question. Yeah, honestly, the first person that sticks out for me is Art Landy, because he was my teacher for many years when I was living in Boulder. And he just opened my mind to not only the possibilities as a musician and just creativity and thinking out of the box and everything like that, but I don't know, just his energy is just so special. And I feel like he really encouraged me to be myself and to challenge myself and to do things as a composer that I hadn't done before. So some of the music that came out of that time that I was working with him, I feel like it's been really pivotal for me. And I sometimes joke like, oh, I shouldn't have gone to music school. I should have just studied with Art, and that would have been enough. So he definitely stands out. I have so much love for him always. And then I would just point to just the singer community here. It's not like any one person, but truly people are looking out for each other and saying like, hey, have you, when I first got to LA, it's like, have you heard about this? Have you met this person? Have you reached out to this person? Oh, you'd be great for this. Let me recommend you for this. Like, actually a good friend of mine, Melissa Axel, who was also a Colorado connection.
Yeah.
And she's out here in LA. She recommended me to be a creative producer on this project for the Hollywood Foreign Press that she and I did during the pandemic, of all things. And it was such a cool experience. I don't think I would have ever been, or at least not easily, in that position to get to do that. And we did some really cool work together, getting to work with these actors and interview them, and also working with these kids who were being honored with a grant. And so we worked on the creative side with them, and I got to coach them, and we came up with this music video. I mean, just cool stuff, you know? So it's the community for me that really stands out.
Do you feel like you've had to build a team in order to do all these things? I can't imagine you're doing it all alone.
I am doing it alone. Except honestly, my husband is on my team. I am so grateful for his support, and he's just so smart. He is a real business mind too. So he's always looking out for me and giving suggestions. And we've had people come in and out at different times. And with our band as well. But it's a little sad. I feel like it's hard to find people who truly want to help, who are going to be consistent, who will follow through with what they say they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, right now I don't have a manager. I don't have a booking agent. It's something I've thought about pursuing, is having an agent at least sometime soon. But I've just been doing it on my own.
It's impressive. It's amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate you bringing it up, because I don't think about that. And so, yeah, it's good to notice, like, oh yeah, I have been doing.
Yeah. I mean, there's a certain personality that I feel like we see as a thread that's continuous through all these wonderful guests we've had on the show. And you have that same spark where you're willing to do the work. You're willing to keep showing up and keep doing the work, because it's a passion that fulfills you while you work hard.
Totally. Thank you.
Can I ask about, so being such a expert with the vocal techniques? Last week we had an episode about health and sustaining health, and we focused a little bit on vocal stuff. Is there anything that you might throw out there, being the expert, on what you do to maintain your vocal health that might be useful for some of our listeners?
Yeah, totally. I actually recently made like a wellness video of kind of what I do, like even on a show day.
Beautiful.
I don't always follow this, but obviously sleep is going to be the best thing. Sleep and hydration. As soon as I wake up, I try to drink as much water as I can. I'll also drink like warm lemon water, which I feel like is really great for clearing out the lymphatic system. Unfortunately, I'm allergic to everything in Colorado. I mean, in California. So my allergies have been wild since I moved here. So I actually use a neti pot, which is super helpful for me as a singer. I also humidify my voice with a personal steamer. And then of course, warming up. I think when we're younger, we kind of feel invincible, and you can go into a gig not having warmed up and it's cool. But as you get older, this musculature, everything changes, and you got to do the work. And it's about conditioning and taking care of your instrument, just like you would any other instrument outside of your body. And so I think even if you can just warm up, 10 minutes a day, which I actually have a 10-minute warm up too, that I think you guys are going to link to, that I'd love for people to have. It's just 6 simple warm-ups that you can do every day to maintain. I think that's huge, because the voice, it changes as we get older. And it's like, in a sense, that adage of like, if you don't use it, you lose it, is true.
Do you think that, I was pausing because I saw Dave was about to open his mouth, and then I wanted to make sure I talked right over him, and I did a great job. So now I'll stop and go ahead, Dave.
We've been working on not cutting each other off this season. We've had over 100 episodes of just stomping on each other. Well, Megan Burke came on, and then she's like, "Oh, it's just like hanging out with you, Dave, in real life." I'm like, "Oh, maybe I have to address this. Maybe I'm the problem."
Oh my gosh, you too.
At this stage of your career, what does making it mean to you now versus what you thought it meant when you were at Berklee?
Yeah. I think making it was like oh, being famous, and like people knowing you. And, now making it is like, can I take care of my family? Am I happy? Am I healthy? Am I doing things that I feel good about, that are in my integrity and that I enjoy? And just the fact that I get to do music as my vocation is like crazy. It's such a gift. I don't take it lightly at all. And I think it's like, but it's also taken me time, right? And like therapy and all those good things to realize like, you have made it, kid. The place that I'm at now, I don't think the young one of me would have ever pictured being at. And so I'm proud of myself. And I have to keep coming back to that and reminding myself of like, there's no like arrival point. You continue to arrive and you continue to like take one step and then the next step and the next step. It's literally moment to moment to moment. And that's probably the biggest thing I've learned as an adult, as a human, is like presence. I don't want to always be thinking about, oh, well, what's the next gig? What's the next this? Da, da, da. It's like, well, where am I right now? Well, what am I doing now? Let me be present and enjoy that now.
Love that.
So good. All right. So we often ask this as our kind of our last question. And we've started to expand it a little bit. Our question is like, what would you recommend, or a couple books that you've been reading lately that you might recommend? And we expanded it now to include podcasts, if that's something also that you don't have to say our podcast. I'm not fishing for that, but just things that have inspired you lately that maybe we can pass on.
I love, if you're a creator, I love Think Media podcast. That's great. I'm a big fan of Amy Porterfield, especially as I'm starting to build this educational content. She's just so smart about that stuff. I just started listening to Michael McDonald's memoir on audiobook. It's awesome. I've always been a huge fan, and hearing his story is so inspiring.
You say memoir again?
Memoir.
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 Never heard that.
Memoir. So that's a big one. It's called What a Fool Believes. What else? Honestly, I read a lot of like parenting books. And you know what? I do want to say this one for creative moms. Let me see if I can just get the author. Yeah, it's called The Mother Artist by Catherine Ricketts. That's a beautiful book.
Other artists.
Yeah, so I'm reading that as well. And then I'm always like thumbing through Bill Plotkin books, which are all just about nature and the human psyche and soul, and I'm big on that stuff too.
That's a good list.
What about you guys?
We selfishly go through these our own. We're asking for our audience, but I mean, we'll talk about these books probably for the next few weeks.
Yeah. I was just telling Dave I'm just about finishing this book. I can see by now by Dr. Wayne Dyer, who unfortunately died a couple years ago, too young. But have you read any of his stuff?
I have. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. He just has a way. He's a great writer, and his stuff is. I like that his stuff is a digestible way of. It's like stories with messages, and I think he's really good at writing like that. So that's been my main book. I figured you'd probably read some of his stuff before.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. What about you, Dave?
Be Like Water by Bruce Lee's daughter, Shannon Lee, is what I'm reading right now, which is pretty incredible. Just how she goes from living in his shadow to running his estate and then taking his philosophy and expanding it into her own life. It's pretty awesome.
Love that. Okay, guys. With the Rex. I got to check both those out now.
Well, we don't want to take up your whole day. I know that you got lots going on. Thank you so much for being here and making this work and sharing all of your experience and your knowledge. And congratulations on your continued success. It is so wonderful to watch from afar.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me and being patient and with me as we figure out a time that works. And yeah, I just feel really honored that you thought of me.
Another great interview. Isn't it crazy how we've talked about how it's easier to stick up for your friends than it is for yourself,
Yeah.
or a cause than it is for your own cause?
Hmm.
And she said that as far as knowing what she's worth, what she knows, obviously, but then when she's sticking up for her friends and for the professionals she works with, it's just a little bit more fuel to stick up for them, because you need to know your minimum rate and be prepared to justify it. And when you know your team's rate, it's even easier to do.
Yeah. Maybe that's because we intentionally say this is what it should be when we're discussing it with others. Whereas for ourselves, there's always that internal, the am I worth that?
Imposter syndrome.
Yes, exactly. The imposter syndrome. Am I really able to ask for that amount? Is that justifiable? And but whatever it is, I do think that when you see someone like her doing these opportunities after the first couple times, it makes it much easier to know what that rate should be. Places like LA, New York, and Nashville all have that a little bit clearer than in the middle of nowhere when you're trying to negotiate a rate. It's harder to know what the appropriate amount would be because it has to match the market as well.
Especially when you're working with a union as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The union makes it easier too. I do think that's true. Yes, they have set limits. And that goes along with knowing when to say no. It may be that it's not because of the money, like we talked about it. It could be because of the opportunity. Maybe, you don't need to go out into the middle of nowhere anymore and play a show. You might have thought that was a good use of your time and energy back a while ago, but now you're looking at it being like, I'm more valuable staying here or putting myself in a place like LA and not traveling anymore than it is to go play these tours on the same route down the same road, right? And so you just need to know when to say no because it's not just about the money, it's also about how well it fits with what you're headed towards.
One question I didn't have a chance to ask her was she ever in a situation where she said no and she stuck up for her fee, or it didn't feel right, and that project went on to be like uber successful, but she still felt okay with that decision because of the detail she had at the time she needed to make that decision?
Yeah.
And what do you have to learn from those, with the outcome.
You do have to be okay with whatever you say has to be how it ends, right?
Yeah.
That's a skill too. All of these kind of things of letting go, you can't hold on to that stuff. It always makes me think of that guy from Napoleon Dynamite. I could have gone pro, the uncle who plays
Mm-hmm.
football. If you haven't seen that movie, you should watch that movie. But that idea that you had your chance and you lost it, and now all you can ever do is sit and think about how you missed that opportunity. That is the dream killer because you're stuck in the past. We all
Yeah.
have those moments where we regret something that we said no to, or we didn't do it and we wish that we had for whatever the reason that it didn't happen.
But setting those personal guidelines for yourself helps you with your artistic integrity, your work life balance, mental well being, all of those things. So you're putting that first, which helps you be more creative in the long run.
Yeah, and the more that you can let go of the past and not worry so much about the future allows you to do better in the moment. And that's really what I took away from this. And when we're talking about success, and we'll kind of get towards that, this feeling that you're doing a good job, that you are showing up for yourself, that we always say that, showing up for yourself, doing what you need to do to make yourself feel like you are headed in the direction that you in your heart know you want to. It requires you to let go of both the past and the future most of the time. But planning is also a part of this. It's not like you can't just have any sort of plan. And most musicians are aware that a plan is valuable, but how you execute the plan really does matter.
That way, you're not just reacting to the opportunity. How does it fit in with that plan and the
Mm.
outcome you need with the longevity of what you want to get out of your career?
Yeah, and as someone who she spent so much time touring with these great artists like Miley Cyrus, for her to do that now with a 2-year-old, it's clear that it has to have the right circumstances or it's a no, right? It's not going to be about the money in that circumstance, right? And it's not going to be about how whether is that a fun thing or not, because we all know that that must be an amazing experience. But if it doesn't fit with her family now, then it's a no. And that's a wonderful clarity that she gave us there and what she understands about herself and her heart.
Having family and relationships and being on the road is something that no music school will teach you how to, I don't want to say handle, but be present for, because you're always moving. You're out of your daily grind. You have something else happening. But to make choices that put value on your loved ones, whether it be your immediate family or friendships or girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever it may be, you need to show up for them too if you want them to be a part of your life. So if you can't bring them with you, I highly suggest scheduling time just like you would rehearsal, just like you would when it's time to eat, touring, when the bus leaves. When are you going to jump on Zoom? When are you going to make that phone call? Definitely something I would say that I did not know early in my career when I was on the road for about 10 years. I was so in the moment that I think going back, I would have made different decisions at the time.
And her ability to compose and just step up and do that, this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm in awe of that ability and the skills, they were there before she got the opportunity, right? And it's kind of like what we keep saying about the skill stuff. She could already do it and she had thought about doing it, but that doesn't make it something she intended to do until it started to happen. And then it led to more. And she was ready when the moment came. We always say that, luck is just the intersection between being prepared and being in the right place, right? And both of those things show true here. Did I ever tell you that this is my only experience really composing for other people? That I composed the fight song for my first undergrad school,
No,
and yeah, we composed the fight song. It's still their fight song for all of their team events. And so that there's 5 of us. We composed it and then we recorded it with the school symphony, and that was a really cool experience for me.
is it an unruly like class?
Was it what?
Unruly? I mean,
Why did it? What did I say that caused that? I didn't hear
a
myself.
fight song. Like,
Oh.
was it happening so many times that they're like, let's plan this out. Everyone gets to sing along once people throw down in the cafeteria.
Well, that's all we say is fight, fight, fight. That's like every song for every university.
Were those the lyrics?
They were part of the lyrics, yeah. Yes. I think what's funny too is that's in a time capsule. That was part of that year. They were putting stuff in a time capsule at the
That's
school,
cool.
and they put that recording of the composition, which is probably on a compact disc, right? And I think that it's
Let's be
coming
real.
close
It's
to
on a
when there's.
cassette. It's on a cassette, Chris. Let's be real.
No, I think it's getting close to where they're supposed to dig up the time capsule. That's how long it's been. So it's
you,
silly.
you should be there for that.
You're right. I should be. All of this is to bring back the idea that bringing your skills together will always make you more valuable. And we want to continually put a highlight on that everybody that you will listen to about how they made it. And it doesn't just have to be about the musicians or the music industry. When you listen to the stories of people, especially entrepreneurs, that found a way to find success, it's because they had a way of combining their unique sets of skills and passions in a way that sets them apart and makes them uniquely qualified.
What can you do with those skills, Chris?
How about build vocal courses? How
Yeah,
about
that's what
online workshops?
right. And she's doing it.
Yeah. And everybody will learn differently. And so finding the right person to say it, as we've said before, everyone wants to have someone say it in the way they say it, right? You will always be able to present it in a way that no one else can. Not only that, but not everybody that's out there teaching something like vocal lessons are really qualified to be doing so. They certainly won't have the experience and the depth of education in which someone like Io has. So it's really a valuable thing that she's bringing to the market. And we'll link those here at the bottom as well.
Something I was talking to my friend Detchen about this week, and he has a mentor course on his website that he helps other singer songwriters out. And he is definitely a fine human being to do it. I like that she's doing this too. And more of us need to do that. Find people that are a little bit ahead of ourselves in our career pursuits or our passion pursuits. And she is someone that you should check out her website to see what she can offer you.
I like that we also touched on getting some of her vocal tips because since we've been talking about the health stuff, and I think they're very easy to. I mean, you should look up the video, the her warm up video, especially for female vocals,
I'll link that too.
and understand that maintenance is such a big part of vocal health. In order to be a career singer, you have to take it very seriously. You have to treat your voice like an instrument. You wouldn't just take your other instrument, like a guitar, and throw it in the corner when you get home, right? But we know that we need to keep it humidified or whatever. You got to keep it in the case, and when you travel with it, you got to be very extra cautious. You should be thinking of your vocals the same way. Your vocal cords are an instrument and you rely on them a lot. And so taking care of them is a really important thing. And certainly she knows a few things about that.
One thing we really want to focus on this season is bringing up books and podcast recommendations from our guests. And something she brought up was Creative Moms, The Motion Artist. We need to check that out. And then she's reading Michael McDonald's What a Fool Believes. So those are two books. And she mentioned one more, but I think we'll put those on the website. So check those out. Something we recommend quite a bit was How to Make It in the New Music Business by Ari Herstand. And then, before you know it, The Musician's Guide to Finance by Chris Webb and Dave Tamkin will also be something you should look up.
And we'll see if the editors ever release it.
We'll have a conversation with them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that, and also we should also mention that we do now have our course launched on our website, and that we'll be putting more energy into telling you about that and promoting it as we go. But just know that it is there for those early bird people that want to get out and take the course. Today, our action step. I decided to go a little different angle on this one. I'm going to go easy on you. We are highlighting how Io's comment was that you need to be more present and less worried about the future. And as we discussed, letting go of the past. So I pulled in this quote from an unknown source.
Which means this is Chris Webb's quote.
No, it means it was on TikTok. But it literally was written as unknown. The married ones are thinking of divorce, while the unmarried ones wish for the married. The unknown crave fame, while the famous just want privacy. The young want to grow old, and the old wish they could turn back time. The poor want to be rich, and the rich spend their nights wishing for the peace they lost, chasing wealth. The ones who got what they wanted now want something else, because wanting isn't about having, it's about chasing. The second something is yours, it loses its shine. No one actually wants it all. They just want to stop feeling like they chose wrong. End quote. You have plenty to be grateful for right now. And it's really important that we take time to feel and embrace that. It's such a pillar to happiness and contentment on this journey. So take the time to sit in your gratitude and release the thoughts that stress you out about yesterday or about tomorrow. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending this time with us and being a part of this community. It is our hope that you feel that sense of community here at Musicians Tip Jar and that you'll help spread the word to make us all stronger. If you'd like to get a hold of us, what's the best way to do that?
Send us an email at musicianstipjar@gmail.com. Connect with us at musicianstipjar.com, where you can check out all the resources and discounts we have collected for you. Check out all our episodes now on our YouTube channel. If you find this information useful, please rate and subscribe to the podcast and slam the like button if you're on YouTube so we can help keep you up on the finance side of your music business.
As always, thank you for joining us. And remember, there is already enough for everyone. You just need to know how to get it. Until next time, on behalf of Dave Tamkin and myself, Chris Webb, stay happy, healthy, and wealthy. Most great desires will seem impossible until you get there. So just keep going. Take the next step. This is Musicians Tip Jar.
Oh Lord, I could use somebody. I could use somebody.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, business, or financial professional for individualized advice. Individual results are not guaranteed, and all discussed strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The hosts are operating on behalf of Musicians Tip Jar LLC exclusively.
Could use some help. Could use a little help here. Could use some help. Could use a little help here. Could use some help. Could use a little help here.